Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and I am probably the last person you think would own a boombox, but I've got one here. This is the JBL Boombox. Now this is an older product. I think it's getting phased out, but you might be able to find a good price on it while it's being replaced by the new Boombox 2. And I got one in the other day, and I thought I would just give you an overview of it and let you know what I thought about this big Bluetooth speaker. And before I get into it, though, I do want to let you know, in the interest of full disclosure, this came in free of charge from Amazon for a live stream we did the other day. However, all the opinions you're about to hear are my own. No one is paying for this review, nor has anyone reviewed or approved what you're about to see before it was uploaded. So let's get into it now and see what this Boombox is all about. Now remember, this is the Boombox 1 and not the Boombox 2. We'll talk about what the 2 does that this one doesn't as we work our way through the review here. Now the weight on this one is pretty extensive. It is 11.5 pounds or 5.25 kilograms, easily the heaviest Bluetooth speaker I have ever used, and it's also the loudest Bluetooth speaker I have ever used. It sounds pretty good. What it's got on board are two 4-inch woofers. Those are about 10 centimeters. And then it also has two 20-millimeter tweeters, which are just under an inch in diameter apiece. And it's got two bass radiators on either side. And what's cool is that when you've got some really bassy music going, you can see those things really thumping away there, which is pretty fun to watch. So it is a fun speaker to even look at as well as listen to. I found the sound quality on it to be really good. The bass is definitely there. It kicks quite a bit, but it doesn't have the deep booming that you would get with a subwoofer. So it's bassy, but not subwoofer bassy, if that makes sense. But the sound is very clear. It really does sound good, and there are two different modes that you can use here depending on the environment that you're in. So I have mine set to indoor right now. I found that sounded a little bit better in my room down here. When I was outside, I switched it into outdoor mode, which does carry a little bit further. Now the power on this one is about 30 watts per channel when it's plugged in, and they include an 80-watt power adapter here for charging it and powering it. On battery, it goes a little less on the power, about 20 watts per channel on battery. Now this is a stereo speaker, so you will hear some stereo separation, but the speakers are so close together that it doesn't really sound like stereo when you're further away from it. So they do have an option where you can buy another one and connect them together through the JBL Connect Plus protocol. And those speakers would work together where one would be the left speaker and the other one would be the right speaker. And there are a number of other speakers that they make that are compatible with this as well. And you can connect up to 100 different speakers using that JBL Connect. Now the big deal with the Boombox 2 is that it supports a different protocol, and they call that one Party Boost, and that is not compatible with this one. So all the new speakers that JBL will be putting out are going to be using Party Boost and not JBL Connect. And that means that if you bought this one today and plan on buying more JBL speakers in the future, the new speakers are not going to connect to this one and vice versa. So from the standpoint of operating with other JBL hardware, it's kind of obsolete at this point, given JBL has abandoned the protocol that this uses for multi-device operation, but it works fine with any phone that supports Bluetooth, or any computer for that matter that supports Bluetooth. I do have my iPhone paired up with it, and we'll hit play here real quick. And one thing to note about this thing is that it is loud, as you can probably hear, and it just keeps getting louder and louder the more I turn the volume up, and then when you plug it in, it gets even louder. So it's very well suited for pool parties, outdoor backyard parties, and things like large workspaces as well, because it really carries quite far, especially when you put it into that outdoor mode. And it's not just loud for the sake of being loud. It actually has a good range of sound, as I mentioned earlier, very clean and crisp. Good bass, a nice kick to it, but not booming bass. And that's one thing that JBL says the Boombox 2 does better. It has better bass and a little bit more power driving the speakers. So if you want something that has a bit more of a boom to it, the Boombox 2 is probably the way to go. But if you want a nice party speaker, this will probably do it for you. Now JBL says that this is a waterproof speaker. They've given it an IPX7 rating. That means that it should be able to survive underwater for a short period of time. If it happens to fall into the pool or off the back of your boat, if you're able to retrieve it from the bottom of whatever body of water it is sitting in, you should be okay. But there's one caveat to this waterproofing thing, which is that the back panel here needs to be securely closed up, because this is what makes it watertight. If this is open in any way, or you've got stuff plugged into it when it does fall in the water, water can intrude through these ports. And I'll give you a better look at it from my overhead camera here. So make sure this door is sealed up before you go out to the pool. Otherwise, it won't do so well in the water. Now you're going to notice there are two USB ports here on the back. I'm just going to bring my phone in here for a second, and if I plug my phone in, what it will do is charge the phone through the speaker's battery. And it's got a pretty big battery on board, 20,000 milliamp hours, and that's about the same size as one of those larger booster batteries you might get for your smartphone. Just know, though, that when the phone is plugged in to the speaker and charging, it's sharing the battery with the speaker itself, and that will reduce your overall battery life on the speaker. So just keep that in mind. But JBL says the battery life on the speaker on its own is about 24 hours, which is pretty good, I think, for most parties. At my age, it's about 3 or 4 parties, so you should be okay if you've got your phone plugged in, especially if it's just keeping it topped off. I think it'll get through your party without a problem. A few other ports here on the back worth mentioning. Let me just switch back to the overhead view. You've got an analog audio input here, an aux input, so you can plug in your music player directly. If you prefer to do that for lossless audio or something, you can bypass the Bluetooth altogether. There is a USB port here. This is just for firmware updates. You likely won't use that at all. Next to the USB port here is the power port, and that's of course where you plug in the power adapter. These USB ports, though, are for charging only. You can't plug in a memory stick with MP3 files on it or something like that. It is strictly for charging whatever devices you plug in. And remember that when you've got stuff plugged in, the speaker is no longer really waterproof. So make sure you keep a good, healthy distance away from bodies of water when this panel is open. Now, of course, with this being a Bluetooth speaker, you're going to likely control it from whatever device is feeding audio in. But you do have a few physical controls here on the top. You've got your Bluetooth pairing button up here. It'll pair up with 2 different devices simultaneously. You have your volume rockers here up and down on the left and the right of the power indicator. If you have it in the JBL Connect Plus mode, this light will be activated, and you do that through their app when you have more than one speaker to connect up to it. And then, of course, you've got a play button here for stopping and starting playback. Now, JBL says this works as a speakerphone also, but I couldn't get it to work with my iPhone. I tried to have my wife call me, and I was hitting the button here as the instructions said you could do, and it just wasn't communicating with my phone as a speakerphone. But I guess if you're in the pool and you get a call, you could jump up and push the button here and have a conversation, although I don't think it'll work very well as a speakerphone device. You also have a battery indicator here on the bottom, so whenever you push one of these volume buttons here, this will light up so you know how much time you've got left before your party gets boring. So overall, it's a very nice outdoor speaker. I am very pleased with the build quality, not so pleased with the price, but because it's on the way out, you might be able to find some good prices on this as JBL begins to phase in the new Boombox 2. Again, the Boombox 2 is a little more powerful, about 10 more watts per channel. It has better bass, and of course the new Boombox 2 supports the new Party Boost protocol for multiple speakers that this one doesn't support. So if your plan is to get multiple JBL speakers and you're looking at this one, just know that all the new JBL speakers are not going to work with this one, but the existing Connect Plus speakers will. And if you're okay with all of that and you get a good price on this, I think you'll enjoy it because it really is a nice sounding outdoor boombox speaker that looks like a lot of fun to have around at a party. That's going to do it for now. Until next time, this is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching.
This channel is brought to you by the Lon.TV supporters, including gold level supporters Brian Parker, Jim Peter, Tom Albrecht, and Chris Allegretta. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to Lon.TV/support to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit Lon.TV/s.